This is the worst case I've ever handled.
Ice baths and isolation and sensory deprivation were appropriate means of punishment.
For some of it, yes, sir.
You look like that when you put them in the bathtub?
She was not able to be brought up today. She's having some emotional and mental difficulties with this entire process.
We find her guilty of first-degree felony murder.
Child killer Shonda Vander Ark playing the blame game. Now she's blaming her defense attorney and demanding a new trial. We're counting down to her court hearing this morning. Plus, Anna Kepner's stepmom wants court documents sealed from the public. Why she filed for a gag order amidst the 18-year-old's death investigation. And a shocking abuse case out of Wisconsin. A teen weighing only 35 pounds was allegedly locked away by her morbidly obese family for years. Also this hour, we are on Wendi Watch. Could Donna Adelson's daughter be charged by Thanksgiving? It's all coming up next for you right here on Opening Statements. Good Tuesday morning to you and welcome to Opening Statements. I'm Julie Grant. Are you ready for some coffee and some court? It's that time where we get you all warmed up here on Court TV and ready for the big day ahead. So let's start it off as we always do. We got a tremendous show planned. Grab a cup of coffee or tea, or if you're one of our friends across the pond, grab whatever you're having at lunchtime. It's time for my opening statement. Shady Shonda wants a new trial. Shonda Vander Ark claims that she's deserving of a new trial after she was convicted of the murder of her 15-year-old special needs son, Timothy. Part of Shady Shonda's claims involve accusing her lawyer of being ineffective. I watched that whole trial. As a matter of fact, he was very effective. This woman, who, let's remember, is also a lawyer herself, is so manipulative and so diabolical that she faked sudden illness when she took the stand and was handed an autopsy photograph of her son. But did you know that a week before her trial, there was a hearing about those autopsy photos of Timothy, and she was presented with all of them, looked at them, and had zero reaction. Shady Shonda. She only conjured up that illness in front of the jury. She also claims that she was incompetent to stand trial. She says she was in a catatonic state. Or maybe she was guilty as sin and now was just looking for any excuse to try to get a new trial. Precious Timothy was so malnourished and so badly dehydrated. He was 5'8", that teenager, and he weighed only 69 pounds at the time of his death. That was on July the 6th, 2022. Can you imagine the pain Timothy must have endured physically, emotionally, and mentally? Just think about that. And the worst part of it is his own mother inflicted it upon him. Timothy deserved so much better. And his rotten, sorry excuse for a mother deserves to be under the jail rather than inside of it. That's my opening statement on this Tuesday morning. Let me know if you like it. Right now, it's time for your daily docket.
I don't remember what my line of thinking was at the time. I was so tired. I don't know. I wish I had an answer for you, but I don't.
Were you tired at that point?
I was exhausted. The night before he passed, I had less than an hour of sleep.
Were you frightened at that point?
Absolutely. I just lost my son.
Case I was just talking about, we got child killer Shonda Vander Ark returning to the courtroom at 9 a.m. Eastern time, and we will go in there live together once the hearing gets underway. In Wisconsin, we've got the sentencing scheduled for defendant Samantha Krebs happening at 10 a.m. She's facing up to life in prison after a jury convicted her for the stabbing death of her boyfriend, Joey Carnot. And in Florida, there is a pretrial hearing in the deadly dog attack case for defendant Amanda Franco. An 8-year-old was mauled to death by one of Franco's dogs. Court's going to start up at 1:30 p.m. Eastern. Right now, let's turn to your top story. As new documents are shedding light into the death investigation of 18-year-old Anna Kepner. She died on a Carnival cruise ship. Her stepmom now wants her child custody civil case to be sealed off from the public. She filed for a gag order in order to protect the privacy, she says, of her 16-year-old son, who is now being considered a suspect in Anna's death. In that same court filing, it was also indicated that the FBI was investigating Anna's death as a homicide. Anna's grandparents, who were on the cruise ship, spoke out on Good Morning America about the stepbrother.
He was in a room with her. He was the only one seen coming and going. So I can't accuse him because I don't know what happened in that room. But the summation would be that he did something. He was a good student.
Played soccer.
He played soccer, very quiet young man. He had demons, I think, in his past, and he was trying to deal with those.
Anna Kepner's cause of death is reportedly asphyxiation resulting from a bar hold. It's when an arm is placed across a person's neck. Her 16-year-old stepbrother is being considered a suspect, according to those court filings, but has not been charged. So I want to be clear on that. He's not facing any criminal charges as of this morning. Let's talk about this case. Let's bring in criminal defense attorney and former prosecutor Matt Timpanek and retired NYPD and Nassau County Lieutenant, also the owner of Houndstown USA, Mike Gould. Good morning to you both. Let's start with this investigation that continues progressing. Even though that ship has set sail on another cruise, we still don't have the results of what exactly happened and whether anyone is criminally responsible. Lieutenant Gould, tapping into your investigatory experience, tell us what you think is going on, please.
Yeah, so Julie, contrary to popular belief, cruise ships are they have a plethora of security things in place. They have 1,000 cameras, 1,500 crew members. They monitor every movement. Many of the wristbands on passengers track their movement, particularly children. So this case is going to be solved. Obviously, investigators got to go through a lot. The passenger pictures, right? Everybody's taking pictures. Everybody's partying. Everybody's drinking. Once these ships get out into international waters, regardless of your age, it's one big alcohol-fueled festival. So I think this is going to be resolved. I think charges by very soon, within the next 48 hours or by the end of the week, charges will be filed. It's not we know who is in the room. We know how the manner of death with strangulation, manual asphyxiation. So I think this is going to be relatively simple. As I said, cruise ships they watch every movement. You can't go anywhere without them knowing. Every public area is under surveillance.
You know, it's great to hear you say that, Lieutenant, because I think sometimes the gut reaction or the knee-jerk reaction, I mean to say, is, oh, geez, how are we ever going to have, any information here? And as you pointed out, there are lots of means of gathering information and tracking on cruise ships. So, fear not about that. Even though it's setting sail, all that digital evidence has been preserved, I would, presume. I want to play a clip for you both. This is again from that Good Morning America interview with Anna Kepner's grandmother, talking about the last time she saw her alive. Let's take a look.
We had dinner. Anna wasn't feeling well. She just said, Mima, I think I'm going to go back to my room for a little bit. And she must have felt better because she got dressed up and she came down. We were playing in the casino. She didn't win anything, and she said, Mima, I love you guys. I'll see you later. And we never saw her again after that.
Just so heartbreaking, that beautiful girl with her whole life ahead of her. Matt Timpanek, I want to pick your brain about the charges. Not just what many believe are coming for the stepbrother, indications or that, perhaps if anybody's going to face charges, maybe him. What about the parents? I would love for you to weigh in on whether you think there's any responsibility here, as there have been reports that that stepbrother was obsessed with Anna, just absolutely obsessed with her. And they were all staying in a cabin together.
Yeah, so definitely one of the things you got to understand is, it's like, what could the parents be charged with? Did they help cover it up? If this actually happened the way the police they say it is, as the lieutenant says, there's surveillance cameras all over the place. So if they've zeroed in on the stepbrother as a suspect, they have to assume that he was only the last person to see her alive and nobody else went in and out of that cabin when this happened. So when you think about the parents, what could they be charged with? Are you thinking in the realm of like depraved indifference, murder, or even involuntary manslaughter? Because you have a situation where something like this could have been potentially foreseeable. He makes advances against his stepsister, and then she rejects them, and you guys had him stay in the same cabin. That's kind of something like, did you guys not see that? Did not foresee something like this happening? So I definitely think it's not outside the realm of possibility. And I think that, like the lieutenant said, we're probably going to get a resolution in the next couple of weeks.
Excellent insight you're giving us, Matt. You know, I was thinking, just off the top of my head, I'm thinking endangering the welfare of a child. If you have knowledge that this situation may be unsafe, and that's, you know, pretty simple, but you really got me thinking about whether they could get to involuntary potentially. That's a great legal question. It makes you wonder. Obviously, we don't have all the facts, but thank you for that. I want to play a clip from the child custody hearing going on. So this is an attorney you're going to hear on this hearing, and who's blaming the boy's mother. So this would be Anna's stepmother, the boy's biological mother, for not supervising better. Let's take a look.
Your Honor, it's our understanding that because the cruise was in international waters, that the young child, not the 9-year-old, but the 16-year-old, was allowed to drink. The teenagers were given their own room in which to stay. Just a lot of circumstances that showed that the mother in this case was not exercising appropriate supervision over this child or the other child involved.
Wow. Okay, so we're getting a lot of information coming from that stepbrother's biological father and his attorneys. You just saw, you know, because they're in a nasty battle over custody, and that's separate and apart from this criminal investigation the FBI's involved with. Lieutenant Gould, I'm sure your ears perked up, as did mine, when he's talking about the 16-year-old being permitted to drink by the parents and also staying in the same room as this beautiful young 18-year-old. Your thoughts?
Yeah, so historically, cruise ships, number one, the homicide rates, intentional murder rates are relatively low because of all the factors we talked about earlier, all the security factors. Suicides and overdoses are relatively common. So you have a 16-year-old who, and again, if you've been on a cruise ship, once you get into international waters, it's free flowing. The parents are partying, everybody's partying, the kids have access to alcohol. So I think when toxicology reports come, like most murders, whether it's manslaughter or intentional murder, there's always going to be alcohol involved in this for sure. 16-year-olds, by the way, they, you know, anybody who knows a 16-year-old, they all think they're smarter than everybody else in the universe. So they're pretty easy when the interview comes, providing they're not represented by counsel, which I assume they will be. They won't outsmart investigators, and they may even try to outsmart their own attorney, but it's not going to happen. So as sophisticated as they think they are, they're really not. So again, this is going to come to an end relatively quickly. Matthew hit it on the head. There's going to be culpability to go around for everyone, including the cruise line at some point.
Yes, great analysis, Lieutenant. Matt Timpanik, another legal question for you, please. Do you think stepmom is going to be successful in her petition for the gag order so that everything can't be talked about on shows like this one?
I definitely think in the state of Florida, what we have in family law cases is they are usually sealed from the public, like people's divorces, custody battles, because there are children, minor children involved when doing so. So I ultimately think she is going to be successful, but she's only going to be able to keep the cat in the bag for so long before everybody knows the facts when, if and when her son is actually charged with what I think will be murder.
Yeah, that's a great point, because we already saw the biggest bombshell. We already know that. You know, if they want to prevent us from seeing more records, so be it. We'll keep talking about it on this program. You both have given us such great insight. Happy Thanksgiving, Matt Timpanek and Lieutenant Mike Gould. We'll see you soon. Still ahead here on Opening Statements. Here's what we've got.
You look like that when you put them in the bathtub?
Child killer Shonda Vander Ark back in court this morning. She's asking for a new trial. Guess what? The prosecutor on her case, Matt Roberts, joins me live coming up. But first, a teen escaping a house of horrors. Her morbidly obese family members allegedly starved her and kept her a prisoner for years. The shocking story out of Wisconsin. The disappearance of mother Anna Walsh.
Her husband now charged with her murder.
All eyes on this accused killer.
Mr. Walsh was suspecting his wife of having an affair.
The massive trail of evidence.
This incredible timeline of Google searches.
It shows everything that was in his mind.
He searched how long before a body starts to smell.
The disappearance of Anna Walsh murder trial. Live coverage begins December 1st on Court TV.
Welcome back. Now for what's trending in true crime. A 14-year-old Wisconsin girl weighed only 35 pounds when she was rescued from a house of horrors. Her morbidly obese relatives are behind bars this morning for allegedly starving her nearly to death. These 4 adults you see here, police say, were living in that trailer with that teenager. And while we cannot show you photos of the teen victim, we can show you what the prosecuting attorney had to say about how she looked.
I was able to observe photographs of her, and she looked like a skeleton. She was just literally skin and bones at 35 pounds. She was neglected for a number of years. She has not gone to the doctor since September of 2020. She has not been in school since COVID.
Her father actually called 911 asking for help when his daughter became sick and comatose. Dad's one of the defendants. He told them that she was autistic and had refused to eat for days, but authorities figured out that she actually hadn't been fed deliberately for 2 weeks. The stepmother, Melissa Goodman, on the left side of your screen, and the other woman living in the trailer, Savannah Lefevre, seen on the right, are also part of the defendants. And according to court documents, or also part of the case defendants, I mean to say, according to part of the court documents, these women exchanged this series of text messages. Take a look. Lefevre saying, quote, "I just want to karate kick her dumb head." Goodman answered, quote, "I totally get that." These adults are all charged with chronic child neglect. They remain behind bars awaiting trial. Let's start by talking about what is the most shocking fact to you about this case. Let's bring in our guests. With me, attorney Jennifer Brandt and Dr. Priya Banerjee. Good morning to you, ladies. Dr. Priya, let me begin with you. You've seen starvation cases. What's your reaction to this, and what is the most shocking part about it for you, please?
So, as a doctor and a mother, I mean, food is essential. I mean, we all eat, and I just can't imagine having denied her basic nutrition. And the fact that she became comatose, to me, means that she was near death. Thankfully, she got an intervention because the dad called for help. But that level of body failure, like they said that she was diagnosed with multiple organs that were failing, her pancreas, her liver, kidneys, if I'm not mistaken. So her entire body is strained and barely alive. And so to get to this point, it's just an extreme level of neglect as they've been charged, and just abuse.
It's horrific, Dr. Priya, absolutely horrific abuse. She was thrilled when she got to the hospital and she was going to be given 3 meals a day because she didn't know what that was like. I mean, she's 14, weighs 35 pounds. I mean, when you think, it just makes you want to cry when you think about that. She grew, this is some good news, God bless her, she grew 3 inches just since those people were arrested, and she was taken into the care of a family member after that stay in the hospital. Dr. Priya, in terms of what this may have done to her body, is there some permanent damage?
I worry that there is. I mean, if you think about that's her preteen and teenage years where the body's exponentially growing. And I'm not a pediatrician, but I'm a mom, and my daughter's eating me out of house and home at 12. So, you know, you just have to think how much nutrition is being pulled into their body, right? Kids eat more when they're growing, whether that's as a toddler or older. And so the level of, I think some organs can recover. The liver can probably recover. Hopefully the kidneys can recover, even her heart. I'm just worried about her brain and bones, and, you know, how she's probably gonna have to relearn to even use her body, like walking. You know, the muscles are so wasted, they're almost non-existent, if you will. And so to build strength from deconditioning and just coordination is a huge effort on her part.
Oh, yeah, you think about that. She has a long road ahead. We wish her the very best. Dr. Priya, thank you. Jennifer Brandt, let's turn to some court documents now. I want to get your reaction to this. The father of this child, so he's the one with the custody of his daughter with his new wife. He said, quote, to a friend, "I keep her locked up in her bedroom with a camera on her head, and that's where she stays," talking about his daughter. Jennifer, what's the most shocking part of this story in your view?
Well, you know, we've covered many of these child abuse stories and child neglect stories on Court TV, but I think this one is unique in the fact that you have 4 adults living in a home, that they're all participating in this crime, this alleged crime. You know, sometimes we hear it's one parent, one person, and the other party is just sort of coerced into, you know, going along with it. But we have 4 individuals. We have text messages between them showing that none of them cared for her. None of them wanted to help her. And they're all participating in this and all charged, I believe, at this point. And where was her other relatives? You know, where were her mother or other people? She's with now, I think you said, a relative. Where was that person during, you know, this time? No one knew where she, you know, she had not gone to a doctor. She hadn't gone to school. These are the things that we, you know, are concerned about. And we hear it over and over again, that these children sort of just disappear off the face of the planet and are suffering abuse. Luckily, it came out. You know, luckily the father did call 911 and got her medical intervention. But by that point, I mean, she's already been severely damaged, as the doctor pointed out. So it's shocking all around. But I think the fact that you have multiple people participating in this is really disturbing.
Right, Jen, yes. So thinking about what you were just saying about mom and issues with dad, and how does all this go unnoticed, right? So our understanding at Court TV is that mom lost custody of her. And so she's full-time with dad, stepmom, and these other 2 women, none of them doing her any favors. Jennifer, let's just talk about the basic, I think this is an important point for everyone to understand, and I would love to underscore it with you here. It's very hard to lose custody of your child. I mean, can we just talk about that? It is not an easy thing to do, you know, and so to manage to do that, and we see it all too often, you know, as you pointed out with these cases that come in, unfortunately, you know, to our network and that we cover. Can we go kind of back to basics? In order for someone to have custody taken away, bad things need to happen, don't they, Jennifer?
Terrible things need to happen, Julie, because basically people don't lose custody of their children. It is nearly impossible to do so. The courts bend over backwards to assure that parents have contact with their children. Even you have people who have severe drug and alcohol issues, psychological issues. They may have supervised custody. They may have some contact with the child, but there is contact. And just to completely lose custody, something was going on there. You know, we don't know what. Maybe mom was worse than dad, which is hard to believe in this situation, this poor child, you know, with these parents. But that someone loses custody and just doesn't voluntarily give up custody, because sometimes that happens, is really a pretty severe issue. And so you can't imagine what went on between these two, that dad was seen to be the more fit parent to raise this child. So, this child really didn't have a chance, it sounds like, based on what we know about this case. But there were other people. Dad had mentioned something to a friend. Where was the friend? I mean, it's hard. Nobody wants to interfere with a family situation. Nobody is going to say, you're not a good parent or you're doing something wrong. But when you hear something as egregious as this, do you take a moment and think about it? Someone has a camera in a room on a 14-year-old child. It sounds suspicious.
Yeah, it really does. Yes, and that's exactly what I was wanting to underscore with you, that the courts are going to try to keep families intact, keep the biological parents able to parent. They're going to make every effort unless somebody makes it impossible for them. And mom went to jail first. Now dad's in the jail. And we wish this poor child the best as she recovers. Great discussion. We've got to leave it there. Thank you both and happy Thanksgiving, Jennifer Brandt and Dr. Priya Banerjee. We'll see you soon. Coming up next on Opening Statements, here's what we've got.
So it never occurred to you to use hot sauce, enforcing the use of hot sauce on a dog, but it occurred to you to use that as a form of punishment for your 14-year-old child?
It was Paul's idea, but yes, I was at my wit's end at that time.
Child killer Shonda Vander Ark in our spotlight this morning as she is saying her attorney was ineffective and she wants a new trial. Well, guess what? We've got the attorney who put her behind bars, Matt Roberts, joining us live next. Plus,
I predict that Wendi will be indicted by Thanksgiving. That's my prediction. I don't have any inside information.
we are on Wendi Watch. What is her Thanksgiving going to look like this year? Is it going to be at home? Or could she be behind bars? We'll talk about it. Welcome back. Now to our spotlight this morning. We're talking about convicted killer Shonda Vander Ark, who tortured and starved to death her own son, Timothy. Well, she's going to be back in court this morning. She's trying to get a new trial, and she's blaming her attorney, Fred Johnson, the attorney who tried the case for her and defended her. She's blaming him, saying that he was ineffective. So what we're seeing, this is an ineffective assistance of counsel claim by Ms. Vander Ark that's going to the court this morning. Her son, Timothy, this is him, precious little guy. He was 15 at the time of his death. He weighed 69 pounds at 15 years old. He was a special needs young man, and evidence showed he was handcuffed. He was forced to sleep in a closet. He was starved. He was left in ice baths for hours at a time. Just sickening treatment this angel received. And now Shonda Vander Ark's new attorney is maintaining her innocence, saying that she never agreed to have her previous attorney mention lesser included offenses. Here's what her former attorney said to Court TV, though, after the verdict.
I passed the bar in 1986. This is the worst case I've ever handled. It's not even, I've handled cases with serial murders. This is the worst case I've ever handled. You do your job. The facts were terrible. The outcomes were worse. You do your job. You come in there, and your job is to represent this woman and to press for her point of view, and that's what you do. If you do that, and the prosecutor does that, and the jury does their end, and the judge does his end, justice gets done in the end.
So what are the chances that he will be found to have been ineffective? Let's talk about that with the chief trial attorney in Muskegon County, Michigan, who prosecuted and put away Shonda Vander Ark, and he's become one of our favorite legal analyst guests, attorney Matt Roberts here. Thank you for making time for us. You've got to get to court in a moment here, so thank you for squeezing this in, Matt. What do you expect to come of this? Do you think this claim of ineffective assistance of counsel has any legs?
Well, good morning, Julie, and happy Thanksgiving. It's great to be here again. Certainly our position is no, that this is not a claim that is going to really have any merit with the judge as we move forward here today. We believe that she was effectively represented by Mr. Johnson. She's really raised two major issues that I think Mr. Johnson, you're going to see testimony today in all likelihood from him, because by filing this, she has waived attorney-client privilege. So we're really going to get some insight today on what was taking place with the discussions between these two individuals. And I think it's going to come out that, yes, she received more than adequate, in fact, excellent representation by Mr. Johnson. It just didn't work out the way she wanted it to, obviously.
Exactly. I mean, I have to say, look, I'll be the first person to say when an attorney's making mistakes and doing things wrong. This is my job at Court TV when we watch. He was excellent. At one point, I mean, I was actually feeling bad for him because he was following the law, defending her rights, doing what a defense attorney must do, you know, and he's dealing with her. And then she pulls that stunt on the stand where she feigned getting sick, all that. And that has some portion that is part of her claim, isn't it, Matt, where she's trying to say when she, you know, she essentially gave up and she said she couldn't return. You know, it's like she's blaming him for continuing to represent her in her absence.
Yeah, exactly. That is one of the claims, is that she was she couldn't communicate, and she should have been Mr. Johnson should have asked for a continuance and all those types of things. And those things really happened. And at a certain point, the judge just has to make a decision to move forward with the case. We documented it very carefully with input from Mr. Johnson, with input from a social worker who had met with Ms. Vander Ark prior to that, with some input from the jail staff as well about her condition. And ultimately, the judge made the decision that we are going to move forward. And you're right, Mr. Johnson was in a very difficult position. We made no offers on the case. This is a case that he had to take to trial. We really gave him no choice there. And frankly, I think, as you pointed out, I think he did an excellent job under the circumstances here. But again, through the lens of being convicted, it just didn't work out the way that she intended it to.
Mm-hmm. Oh, exactly. This is a smart woman. Matt, we've talked about it before. She is smart. She has a lot of things, and fortunately for her, smart is one of them. So now she's throwing him under the bus. We got to see him in just that trial. We hadn't seen him previously on any other trials, but I'm sure you've probably had other cases with him. What's his reputation in the legal community, Matt?
Fred has an outstanding reputation in the legal community. He was the director of the public defender's office here at the time of this, and he was actually the original director when the office was created back in 2012. And so he'd served for 13, 14 years with distinction with the county. Really, I've tried a number of cases against him. He's very effective. He's very affable. He's very good with juries. They like him a lot. But he's dealing with some of the most difficult cases to deal with. And that's one of the things that I admire the most about him, is that he took this case on himself. He didn't force any of his other attorneys to deal with the horrible circumstances here. He took this responsibility himself, and he did it from a place of wanting to do the best thing for the client and for the office, and for no other reason than that. I think he deserves a lot of credit for that.
Yes, boy, thank you for that, serving in those really honorable roles, for many years, and appreciate you sharing all the great things about his reputation. Matt, I want to ask you, what else do you think is important for all of us to know as we get ready to watch this case? So many members of our Court TV family, as you know, were so happy to see justice for Timothy, and so many people upset about the terrible treatment he received. What would you say to everybody watching today as we get ready to watch this hearing for her? What's important for us to keep in mind?
Well, like I said, the most interesting thing I think that we are going to see today is going to be that interaction, that window into the communication between Mr. Johnson and Ms. Vander Ark. I think the viewers can be assured that we've put forth what we think is a fantastic argument here. Heather Bloomquist, our appellate attorney, is going to be leading this hearing today, and she is well prepared for this, has really talked to all of the necessary witnesses. And Judge Casel, who will be deciding this case, I think we've all seen his how he's felt about this case. He took a very just a really moving approach to the sentencing in this case, but he's also very diligent in researching issues when they come to his attention. So I think he's going to be ready for the issues that we're going to see raised here today. And again, we never guarantee any type of outcome, but we feel very confident in moving forward today that this is a claim that ultimately will not have merit, and it's just part of the process, part of the appellate process that we have to deal with. It's nothing unusual. It's nothing people should be overly concerned about for that reason.
Yeah, you're used to it. That's a great point to end on, Matt. This is just a very high-profile case, but you get these claims all the time. Attorneys, I know so many great defense attorneys who get these ineffective assistance claims all the time. It's just, what unsatisfied defendants do because they've lost. Matt Roberts, so great seeing you. Happy Thanksgiving again to you and yours, and best of luck this morning. We'll see you shortly. Coming
Thanks,
up
you.
next year. Oh, thank you. Coming up next year on Opening Statements, we're talking about where Wendi Adelson will be for Thanksgiving. We're going on Wendi Watch after the break. Now for what's tipping the scales of justice. We are on Wendi Watch. We are waiting to see if Florida prosecutors will be charging Wendi Adelson and her ex-husband Dan Markel's murder. Former Palm Beach County State Attorney, our friend Dave Ehrenberg, made a bold prediction on the show last month. Let's take a look back together at that.
I predict that Wendi will be indicted by Thanksgiving. That's my prediction. I don't have any inside information, but if you watched the trial closely, which you did, you can see that Wendi was a featured player. And after the verdict, the jury foreperson came out and said that Wendi, who was the ex-wife here, deserved to be next.
Now, so far, 4 people have been convicted and 1 person has pleaded guilty for their roles in the death of Danny Markel. Let's talk about this some more. There's still time before Thanksgiving. Let's bring in Dave Ehrenberg right now, and also with him, a colleague of his, a friend of his, and a Court TV original legal analyst guest, retired District Attorney Josh Markey. Good to see you both this morning. All right, so Dave, there's still time. My friend, there's still time. I still like your prediction. What do you say?
Was that really me saying that, or was that camera tricks?
Who knows,
Julie,
right? Yeah.
I borrow that phrase from Classy Freddie Blassie. You remember him, the old school heel manager in wrestling, who, if you didn't like what he saw on TV, it was always camera tricks. Tricks. I believe what I said at the time. I do think that Wendi is going to be indicted. I guess I was a little optimistic as far as the timing goes. It does seem there are 2 things at play here. And I think, number one, the office up there, Jack Campbell State Attorney's Office, has been dealing with a very high-profile grand jury operation there when it comes to the governor and the attorney general and this charity that may not have been above board. And so it's a touchy issue, and it's something that is taking a lot of their time. And I think that's one reason why this has been slower. And secondly, I think they're still trying to get more evidence because they know that prosecuting Wendi will be the hardest of all the family members. It's also the most important to members of the public. So they only get one shot at it, and they want to get it done right.
Yeah, a great point. And let's talk about that. Josh Markey, you spent many years serving as a prosecutor. You were the district attorney in the county where you served. And in other offices, would you kind of talk to our viewers about how every office does things differently? Perhaps in another part of the country, she would have already been charged. Maybe in another county in Florida, she would have been charged long ago. Your thoughts, Josh?
Well, there's tremendous pressure in a case like this. And frankly, the pressure's been building since Dan was murdered, which is over 10 years ago now. And they took their time. One of the reasons you have to take your time as a prosecutor is you only have one opportunity. The moment the indictment is filed, jeopardy, or at least jeopardy is going to attach when there's a trial. The O.J. Simpson case is a famous example of that. A lot of people believe that prosecutors in that case pulled the trigger too quickly because O.J. Simpson got and demanded a speedy trial. Now, one can certainly argue that it's been almost 10 years since Dan Markel was murdered, but they only have one chance to do this. I think Dan's prediction is bold, and of course, I think we all saw how Prosecutor Georgia Koppelman, at the end of Donna Adelson's trial, was very coy, understandably, about predicting whether or not and when Wendi would be charged.
I'm glad you brought that up, Josh. We have that clip. Let's take a look at it.
Georgia, does Wendi have reason to be worried tonight?
You said that word. That's a bad word.
A bad word.
No W questions.
Worried is a bad word? Well, that's not. Should we say stay tuned? Do we need to stay tuned?
I mean, you can stay tuned.
Stay tuned. All right. Dave, I'm also in the camp that I think Harvey ought to be worried as well. What do you think?
I agree, Julie, but I think that if Harvey's going to be indicted, it will be at the same time as Wendi. I think this is their last hurrah. I think they're going one last time, and I don't think that they're going to keep going up the ladder just to reach Harvey. I think Harvey will also be difficult, but not impossible, and especially the way he taunted prosecutors at the hearing, at the sentencing. I got to believe maybe there's some extra personal motivation there, even though I know they're just going to follow the evidence and the law. But they could. Conspirators can be wide-ranging, and it could be easier to prove than being a direct principal. So they could charge Harvey, I think. But will they? I think if they're going to do it, it's going to be at the same time as Wendi. If he's not charged as part of this next indictment, which I think will happen, then I don't think he'll be charged at all.
That's a great point. And yes, David, at that sentencing, he was very disrespectful to the court, to the prosecutors. Yes, that was terrible. Josh Marquis, what I want to do with you before as we end the program, and I want to make sure I have some time for this, I want to end the program talking about Danny Markel. And we've talked to Dave a lot about how Dave knew him personally, and you actually got to know him as well with victims' rights work, I understand. Tell us about that, please.
Sure. I was the elected DA for 25 years in Astoria, Oregon, a town on the northwest Oregon coast. And I was very active for almost 20 years before that as a victims' rights advocate. And as Dan can tell you, unfortunately, not all prosecutors were on board on victims' rights. So through a mutual friend, a law professor in New York, I got to know Dan, not well, but we exchanged several emails because he was a rare thing. There were not a lot of prosecutors in the early 2000s, or certainly law professors advocating for this idea of victims' rights. And frankly, we had at the time a proposed National Victims' Rights Amendment before Congress, co-sponsored by the late Senator Dianne Feinstein and a Republican senator. And unfortunately, it just didn't get enough traction. And part of it was many prosecutors weren't willing to support it because they felt it gave too much power to victims. It's something I feel strongly about. And Dan did, and that was something I really admired about him.
That's really awesome. As you said, it was unique for a law professor at the time to be interested in this, but yet he was.
Yeah, and he brought a gravitas to it that, frankly, those of us who are trial lawyers just didn't bring.
Yeah, what a special guy. It's funny doing so much coverage and talking to people like you, Josh, and Dave about Dan Markel. You almost feel like you know him a little bit, just hearing the great stories and what a wonderful person he was. Dave, he meant a lot to you. I know he was an important person in your life. Would you end the program just sharing a little bit about him, please?
Well, as we're about to celebrate Thanksgiving with our families, it is such a tragedy that Dan Markel won't be there with his kids. And I knew Dan, and he was a great guy, but most importantly, he was a great father. He dedicated his life to his two boys, and it was that reason that cost him his life, because he refused to take the money and let his kids move down to South Florida, about an 8-hour drive from where he was. So on this Thanksgiving, hug the ones you love and remember people like Dan Markel. We need more fathers like him in this world.
Oh, beautifully said. Dave Ehrenberg, thank you so much. Josh Marquis, thank you so much. Great to see you back on Court TV, and happy Thanksgiving to you both and to your families. We'll look forward to having you back very soon, and we'll stay on Wendi Watch because there's still time before Thanksgiving.